Hey, welcome to Sunday Jam with Arlo. This is episode number 12. I'm so glad you stopped by. Today on the Jam, we're going to be going over my top 5 unknown guitar players. Excited to share that with you. Also going to be talking about a recording studio that I've been following. They got some cool stuff they're doing right now I want to share. And lastly, we're going to look at Boost Pedal that popped up on my radar this week. It's really cool. Going to check that out. So lots of fun stuff on the Jam today. I hope you stick around. All right, so welcome back to the Jam. I'm excited to do this one today. Share a bunch of different guitar players with you. And I hope you get a couple that you haven't heard of that you can check out. And I'll leave some links down in the description box for some of these, just some of my favorite videos you can check out. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good jam. And I want to say real quick, too, appreciate everybody that's been subscribing. And we're at like 92 subscribers or something like that, I think. I need just a couple more for 100, which is crazy. I didn't think I'd get 50, let alone 100. So thanks for everybody that's been watching and everybody that's been sharing. Some folks have shared with other guitar players so they can check it out. And I just appreciate it. The more we get subscribers, get more, I'll just kind of keep doing these. It's almost people are liking them. You know, my channel, if you haven't seen before, I play guitar and I'm recording some demos in my home studio. So it's a lot about guitars, guitar pedals, and then home recording stuff. So that's kind of what the channel's all about. And I think some folks have been digging it and get some things out of it. And I've been meeting lots of new friends too, musicians and engineers. So I'm learning a lot from them. So it's good stuff. All right, so let's dive into this list. Now, first thing I did before I put my 5 together was I put a post on my Facebook page and asked some of my musician friends and some of my friends who just dig music what their favorite unknown guitar players were, people that they thought that we should know about. So I'm going to run down that list real quick. So quickly, I threw out, and none of the 5 that's on my list is on these people here. I got 5 completely different ones I'm going to do at the end. So just stay tuned for those 5 because there's going to be, you might know 1, you might know 2. There's no way you're going to know all 5 of them. No way. So I think I did pretty good. I think I got a couple good ones in there. So here's first thing I put out on my Facebook thing to get everybody, get my head wrapped around it, was Roy Buchanan. I had Frank Marino, Tommy Bolin, Sean Lane, and then J.D. Simo. So those were mine, just kind of like, you know, this is who initially I would maybe say. And then the 5 I got coming are way different. But so then my brother came through and he threw in Philip Sace, which I've been seeing him on Instagram a ton. I follow him on there and on Facebook too. Monster guitar player. He likes ripping on the Strats, kind of the SRV style, but he's a killer player, good songwriter. He's got a new album out you should check out. So Philip Sace is very good. Good one, JT. Next up, Dave DeFilippis. Dave ran Sound and Jack's Farm, the band I was in, which we just did the show in February there. Dave set all that up, which was really awesome. And Dave plays in some bluegrass bands, very eclectic music tastes of Dave. A lot of people don't know Dave's favorite band is Boston. Boston is Dave's favorite band of all time. It's not. He gets really angry when I say that. He really doesn't like Boston. But anyways, so Dave came up with Danny Gatton, right? He's a monster player. He kind of falls in that Roy Buchanan ilk. My dad turned us on to Danny Gatton when we were kids. Loved Danny's playing. He was a great mentor to Joe Bonamassa. Always talks about Danny Gatton. So young guitar players, check out Roy Buchanan, get his anthology, and then check out Danny Gatton. And then Dave also gave us Mike Bloomfield, which is a monster guitar player. You can check out some of his Super Session stuff. Me and JT used to do one of his songs, and it's escaping me now. But we used to do one of his, oh boy, it's not going to come to me. Maybe I'll drop it, it'll come to me and I'll put it into the screen here so you can see what song that was. But Mike Bloomfield, monster player, kind of that B.B. King. He got a lot from B.B. King, but really made it his own. He was kind of like our Peter Green. You know, he was like the U.S. version of Peter Green, maybe, or maybe not. They're both very different too. But so Danny Gatton, Mike Bloomfield, and then my buddy Chris Carithers, who I just played in Jack's Farm with the show in February. And Chris is still playing in some blues bands and songwriter. Very good. He gave us Gary Loris from Jayhawks, which I love the Jayhawks. So check out Gary. You know, the Hollywood Town Hall. I think that's one of my favorite albums of all time. And then he also gave us Clarence White, which a lot of young guitar players aren't going to catch him very quick. Very great guitar player. Plays that telly with the B bender in it. My brother has one of those, and my brother can do it pretty good. I have a hard time doing it, but it's a beautiful guitar. So that's good. Chris gave us Gary Loris and Clarence White. So check those out, young guitar players. Next up, my buddy Brian Hammond. He gave us Nels Cline. Phenomenal guitar player. And very different from the guitar players that we're kind of mentioning here. So I think that was a good one to throw in, Brian. And then he also said Derek Trucks, right? And I know a bunch of us guitar players are going to be like, oh, Derek Trucks, everybody knows who he is. But it's funny, I asked, there's two fellas that work for me at the outdoor store that I run, and neither one of them knew who he was. And I was like, Tedeschi Trucks, Allman Brothers? And they were like, and they listen. I hear them listening to Pink Floyd sometimes, some other stuff. And they're like, "No, Derek Trucks." I was like, "Oh, my buddy Derek. You know, you got to know Derek Trucks." I mean, so I'll be playing that at work for them, so we can educate them on the slide craziness of Derek. I met him one time. Well, a couple times we met, but one time in particular, and this is when he was an unknown guitar player. He was opening for the Tragically Hip. Band from Canada, so he's opening for them, and Derek was probably, I don't think he was 21 yet. I don't know how, he was younger, because I was pretty young at the time too. And me and my brother went to the show, stood right up front. Derek comes out, nobody's like even looking at him. He's like hooking up his stuff, and everybody was there like to see Tragically Hip, I think. And we talked to him before the show. He's like hooking up his guitar, and we're like, "Hey, you gonna do any miles tonight?" And he's like, "Oh, hey, you know, what do you want to hear?" And then he ripped in, and then everybody was like, "What? What is this?" And by the end, like everybody knew who Derek Trucks was. He was playing in he's playing with Todd Smalley and Jan Rico then. Rest in peace, Jan Rico just passed not too long ago, and. Yeah, so, and then after the show, we were shooting pool down the road at another bar, and he went walking by, and I went out, and I was like, "Hey, Derek, it was a great show." And then he's like, "Oh, yeah," and we got to talk. He's like, "Well, come back to they were in a camper then, and we ended up going back into his camper, and I was like grilling him with guitar stuff. He gave me a couple beers, and yeah, I don't know if he was 21 yet, but we were sitting in there drinking beers, talking music, and Jan Rico was talking, and it was a good time. We had a good time talking, and I ended up leaving and went back to the bar. My buddy, my brother, and my buddies were all like, "Where were you at?" I was like, "Oh, I was hanging with Derek," and they're like, "Yeah." And then he went walking by. I was like, "See you later, Arlo." They were like, "What?" Oh, that was funny. That was a good time. But Derek Trucks, you got to know who he is. Good one, Brian. Then my buddy Chris Cynthian, he put in another good one. He said Eric Johnson, which that kind of follows the same thing with Derek Trucks. Is like, we're all gonna be like, "Oh, everybody knows Eric Johnson," but I think we'd be surprised how many people don't know him. And Eric has influenced so many guitar players with Bonamassa and Eric Gales and on and on. I mean, you can hear him all through their playing. And his style, he has so many different styles. If you're a guitar player, you should definitely check Eric out, because just fantastic on so many different levels. When I first got Tones, his first album, well, that he released there. He did some other stuff with some other bands, but Tones just blows you away. So you should get Tones. You should have Avia Musicom, Venus Isle. Just great stuff. It's a good one, Chris Cynthia and Eric Johnson. And then my buddy Mel Cressman, he added in Jason Isbell and Sadler Vaden, who's his guitar player. And I thought, well, that's a really good one too, because Jason, just a monster guitar player, great songwriter. And then Sadler, he just is like the kind of the icing on top of everything. Great sideman to Jason. And Jason's another good one to follow on Instagram. He'll play guitar on there sometimes, so you should follow him, and he can pick up some killer riffs. He's got a beautiful Les Paul. I think is that the one with the red spot on it, red eye or something like that. But he's got an old, I think it's a '59 Les Paul. It's beautiful, but definitely two great guitar players. So good one, Mel, on that for telling us about Jason Isbell and Sadler Vaden. And then this one is when it turned for me. My buddy Charlie Roy, right? So Charlie added in Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner. Now, up until this point, I was like, oh yeah, this and this, and I was like, Steve Hunter I'd heard of, Dick Wagner I'd actually never heard of, and then I went back and I Wikipedia'd him and started reading him, like, oh wow, this guy he was on some of the Aerosmith records and all this other stuff he did with Alice Cooper and Lou Reed, and so I've got some homework there myself to do to learn more about Steve Hunter and Dick Wagner. So great one, Charlie, for throwing those in, because then that got me thinking, well, I got to come up with 5 that are different. So I had to come up with my 5. So what did I do? Okay, so what I did was I started thinking back to some of the guitar players I'd seen over the years that we might not know. So first one that popped into my mind immediately was Peter Prince of Moon Boot Lover. Hopefully everyone's like, who and what band? And maybe a couple of you have heard of Peter Prince. But I first saw Peter. He was playing at the brewery in State College, PA. I used to play there a bunch. We played there every Monday night for like a year and a half or 2 years or something. But they used to have a lot of bands coming through there in mid to late '90s that were like from the jam band, when jam band scene was kind of happening. And he was in that scene, Peter Prince, Moon Boot Lover. And he was playing one night. I don't know that I even knew he was playing. I think I just showed up, and he came out on stage, and he had these big moon boots that he carried out, and he put them at the front of the stage, and then he just proceeded to just tear the roof off the place, playing this phenomenal like funk rock guitar, and his singing was fantastic, but his guitar playing very much like carried along his phenomenal vocals. The whole night was just like, it was electric. It was like I couldn't stop watching. And from then on, I kept watching them through the years. It was funny, that night they ended up getting done with the show, and then I got talking to them afterwards, and I was like, they had another gig far away. I was like, come back to my place and crash. And they ended up coming back. We played guitars and drank beers for the rest of the night. It was pretty fun. And I was staying in this house that there were these 2 girls that were like living above. And anyways, I don't think they knew I was staying there, because another buddy lived there with me, and he kind of got me in, and they were like gone for the summer. And the one girl happened to come back that next morning, and the place is just trash. There's like beer bottles everywhere, guitars and amps laying all over. I'm like laying on the couch in my boxers, and she's just like, who are you? So that was a fun night with Peter Prince, Moon Boot Lover. So check those guys out. Again, I'll try to have some links for you to check out with him. Next up, really great guitar player. I don't know how I stumbled into him. It could have been from the Susan Tedeschi album, Just Won't Burn. But Sean Costello, great guitar player. Again, another great singer. Very much like Peter in that I think both of them, vocalist-wise, really blow me away. But the way they play the guitar with their singing is what sets them apart. They're both great at both things. And Sean, just a master guitar player. Very awesome tone. I've seen some stuff with him playing like P90s and his Les Pauls, and I've also seen him play some other guitars too, but the P90 thing. And then he plays with his fingers, and just a killer tone. The one song that really hit me, and I'll make sure I put this link in, was when he does Double Trouble, and his vocals are ridiculous. And then in the song, he like breaks the high E string, I think, and then plays leads with 5 strings, and it's ridiculous. So Sean Costello, sadly he's gone now. He passed away a number of years ago, but you got to check him out. Really good. Next up, I was like, oh, who's going to be number 3? And I settled on my old friend Ben Andrews. Should be another one you've probably never heard of, but great blues, acoustic blues player. I don't know. I think I saw Ben first maybe at Franco's in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, which is a great little club. Used to have, again, great music at that time in the 90s there. And I saw him, I think it was the first time there. Could have been also Stoney's in State College, PA. I used to play there, and I used to go see Ben there, and saw him play a lot. He used to do a killer version of Gallows Pole. They kind of melded some Celtic version with the blues version. He'd play that for like 25 minutes and just was great. Georgia Brown, he used to play that song, fantastic. And he was just phenomenal. There was one night in particular and we'd talk like before after shows, and I'd get him some drinks. I think he used to drink like brandy or something like that. But one night he was playing at Zeno's in State College, and he's playing and just going after it, and broke a string. He had to get his other guitar. He started playing, and he broke the string on that one. So he said, I'm going to take a break. And he's like, come on, Arlo. And he handed me a guitar, and he took the other one. And we went up to his hotel, he had a little hotel room above in Zeno's there. And he's restringing guitars, and we're drinking some beers. And his harp player at the time, Hugh Feely, he's like laying in the bathroom. It's like, I think it was like a tile floor, something had like a lot of reverb. And he's playing harp in there. And Ben's just telling me stories about Bo Diddley and Muddy Waters, playing with Muddy Waters in Chicago. And he was just a great, he's the one who kind of got me looking at like Son House and then Hound Dog Taylor and those types of players and Robert Johnson. He was a great mentor to me and a lot of other blues players. And he's sadly gone, now as well, and I really miss him. But you got to check him out. I'll have some clips for Ben Andrews, monster player. My number 2, we're getting down there now. My number 2, I was like, who am I going to put? And I know you're not going to know this one, except my buddies, my friends. And I'm putting my brother, Justin Tarr. He's number 2. And he's the reason why with Justin, just a phenomenal guitar player. I like listening to him do chord voicings, and I can play along with him all the time. But then he's a great lead player. We used to do Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, and he used to just kill it with that. And he's going to be some of the songs I'm recording now demo-wise. Eventually I'll get him here, and I'm going to have him throw some solos on, and then, maybe we'll get a band together, and he'll get him in the studio with me again. But JT's got to be number 2. And when you hear the Bridge of Sighs, then you'll know why. Good stuff. All right, so number 1, and this one I had no doubt who I want to have number 1 for right now. Right now in this time for me, there's one guy, and I left a little hint here, and some of his followers will know this little hint, right? Ooh, I hadn't had a Rolling Rock in a lot of years. I grew up in North Central PA. I used to drink a lot of Rolling Rock, but it's been a little while with that. But my number 1, some of you have guessed it now. You got it from the hint. Is little Tommy from Cleveland, Tom Bukovac. It's got to be my number 1 unknown guitar player right now. I started following Uncle Larry, as he's also known. Started following him right about when the pandemic hit, and he started doing some videos on YouTube. Just guitar playing. He'd play guitar and tell some stories, and I was like, who is this guy? And I watched a couple times, and I think then I faded away and I wasn't watching, and then I saw, I think it was that pedal show, or maybe Mike Pierre, Analogman, who we were going to talk about a little later. He might have mentioned him, And so I went back and started watching again. I was like, oh, and then I researched, oh, he's a session guy, Nashville. And then I started like, oh, he was with Trigger Hippie. You know, I'm a big Black Crowes fan, Steve Gorman in that band. Yeah, little Tommy. If you guys haven't checked it out, definitely check out his YouTube channel, because you're going to learn lots of great little guitar tricks, and just things on touch and phrasing and different equipment. He shows you how to use that little pinky to your advantage. He uses that little pinky finger when he's playing a lot, which I've been trying to do more of that. Use all my fingers, and man, the guy is he's been kind of a savior to a lot of us guitar players during this whole coronavirus pandemic thing, because just something great to watch. And he's also he's showed us in the studio with some different players, and he made this last couple months a lot easier for a bunch of us guitar players. We really look forward to every video he does. And so check him out, young guitar players and my friends who haven't. Tommy Bukovac. Just great stuff. So that's my top 5. And I'd love to have, if you got some other unknowns, put them down in the comment section. And I'd like to see what you guys can add to our little list there. All right, so something else I want to share with you. One of the recording studios I've been following here lately, Sunset Sound Studios. I did a video on their Sunset Sound Studio reverb they did with IK Multimedia, and I've been learning more and more about this phenomenal studio. You should check out their webpage. It looks like they just put a new one together. It's pretty nice. It tells you a lot about the studio and the history. But what I want you to make sure you're checking out is, if you go to their YouTube page, it's Sunset Sound Recorders, and they're adding in a lot of like from the vault type stuff. So they talk about more of the history of the studio. They just did a really great one with T-Bone Burnett. He's selling an API console that they used to have in there. That's a great video to watch. And then they're having like artists come in and do songs that were recorded in the studio from legendary artists. So those have been really great. So you can check it out on Facebook, or you can go to Sunset Sound Recorders on YouTube, and make sure you're subscribing to them, because it's just lots of really fun stuff if you're into recording studios and just classic music. A lot of history there, so make sure you're checking that out. All right. The other thing I want you to check out is a really cool booster pedal that I came across this week. The Analogman Bad Bob Booster. I saw Mike had a picture on his Instagram page where they're building a bunch of these. They're about $150. And I saw the picture. I was like, I got to learn more about what these are. And you can read all about it on his webpage here. And then there's a really great video from the guys at That Pedal Show, where you can click down here, and it'll start right from where they start talking about it. $150, but it's a phenomenal boost pedal. Sounds really killer. The guys in That Pedal Show are like freaking out about it. And I think I'm gonna probably pick one up. So if I get one, I'll do like a little gear review thing on one of my songwriting with Arlo sessions. But I always like talking about Mike's stuff, because he makes great product. He lives not far from me here. We actually, I have on my Robin Trower shirt. I don't know if you see that, but we were at this Robin Trower show in Ridgefield Playhouse, and Mike was there that night. My brother ran into him at the concession stand, and then he came up. We talked to him real quick, and super nice guy. And it's all made in his shop in Bethel, Connecticut, and he gets all the best parts. And I mean, he was the boutique builder before there were boutique builders, really, and still crushing it. And a lot of guys like his stuff. Doyle Bramhall, I know, and Mark Ford, who we love. So go to analogman.com and check out the Bad Bob Booster. It's a good one. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this Sunday Jam. I hope you get to check out some of those guitar players. I hope you leave me some more down in the comments section. It was really fun, kind of going down this lane of unknown players. And so it was a lot of fun. So make sure you hit the subscribe button now. Share this with your guitar friends. I'd appreciate it, just to keep the channel rolling. and we'll see you next Sunday. I hope you get to play some guitar today. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Hey girl, don't look back now. Had our time in the sun. I'll be back.